Hello everyone, my name is Creative and welcome to my new YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm here with Melina and we are talking all things content creators. She is the creator of Girl in the Verse. She has been a content creator most of her life in the news reporting section. Now she's in the Web3 and she's doing some amazing things and helping a lot of content creators get informed. A lot of project owners and a lot of investors that are into this space are now looking up for her to figure out what is the latest, greatest, and what's happening on. We all know, everybody knows how fast the Web3 space moves. Having people like this really helps us. So today, we're going to be sitting down and having a great conversation to get to know the one and only, the girl in the verse.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time. Where are you? Where are you in the world? As you know, the Web3 world is so different and everybody's across the world. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm from Canada, so it's cold. I get a lot of people that write to me, of course you're in Canada. I see all those parkas in your videos. Yeah, there's some legit snow out there. Yeah, I'm in Quebec, in Montreal, where we speak French and English. Yeah, and my nationality, I'm Italian, because I get all kinds of questions. So I speak Italian as well, all three.
I love it. Well, thank you again for being on this show. I don't want to just ask the boring question of like, you tell me who you are. I want to kind of change up the format how we do this show. So one of the first things that I notice about you is that you help people by bringing the latest in what's trending in crypto with NFTs in the space. And that's hard because the space moves so fast and so quick. How are you staying up to date with what's going on, and how are you timing that with your content?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. Luckily, I have 10 years of TV journalism experience
Mm.
to sort of help me feel confident to do this. I will say what I was naturally doing when I entered the space to sort of understand what an NFT is and what Web3 means and crypto is I was doing my homework. I was researching, I was Googling, I was learning in Twitter spaces, I was listening in on conversations, and then I started taking notes. And then, I realized that although we're talking about in a Twitter space, no one really knows that this is happening unless you're in that set space at that set
Mm.
time, right? So by taking notes, and obviously now there's a few newsletters that I've signed up to, and I just keep a thread of what's going on, what I'm seeing, what I'm noticing in the space, and I publish one what's trending in crypto a week because I think daily would be crazy. So I do it once a week because what was true on Monday could change Thursday night. So it
Absolutely.
just allows me to dive deeper into that story and then do something, fun and entertaining. As I think the community, is fun and entertaining. So I wanted to reflect the community, but how do I make it timely? I think you just have to be aware that things can change.
Hmm.
So whatever I write down on Monday could 180 by Thursday night, but you have to allow yourself to those changes.
Man, that's so true. And you talked about Twitter Spaces, how important it is for, I guess, Web3 creators or entrepreneurs. If you're in the Web3 space, I think we can all agree that Twitter is probably one of the top platforms. How important it is, do you think, for creators or entrepreneurs to be in these spaces to just kind of listen in?
I mean, honestly, at the very, very beginning, I was spending too many hours. I never wrote them down, but a lot of hours where, my partner would kind of come home and be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm listening to this guy. He's important. And like, trying to build out a biological tree of like who's who in the space. It's super important because a lot of people, it's easy for them to just jump on a space, start talking, not showing up, not doing videos, and just allowing a conversation to be had
Mhm.
in the moment, which is what's so great about Twitter Spaces. I will say today I try to remove myself as much as I can in a Twitter space because they go on for too many hours,
Yeah.
right? Like a Twitter space could start for an hour and then just end after four. And I used to be one of those people. Like I'd listen to all 4 hours. I used to be like, okay, but something else would be happening. But
Yeah.
usually within that first hour, um, I listen as to what people are talking about, because what's so important and what's so fun about this space is really figuring out what people really care about.
Mm.
Is it the doodles not tweeting, or is it, the moonbirds and, proofs conference
Mm.
happening in May? Like, what's on top of mind for the people in the community, not what the media or news outlets are talking about. And that's what I think is the most, interesting part about Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, I feel like you have to kind of go in the wheat to get the real alpha. Like alpha is still like a new word for me. Like you mean like just like great insights, but I guess it's now a lot of things are covered alpha. And talking about alpha, what topics do you cover? And then how do you help others with the topics that you cover?
Yeah, I think it goes back to storytelling. When you look at how Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok, how they blew up and what got a lot of content creators successful was being themselves, but also sharing a story.
Mm.
And so in my case, being a woman in this space, there's not a lot of us. I made it very obvious with a name like Girl in the Verse, but also it was about honing in as to who I am, which is I'm a girl who's trying to figure out where we're going to be, which metaverse, because we don't know,
Mhm.
and allowing myself to be open and vulnerable online, talking about if I got a hack, what were to happen, talking about certain projects. Oh my God, I minted this, but now it flopped, and being honest and open about it, but also, really talking about what are the top 10, let's say the top 10 stories of the week and why I think they matter. And then I do them in a way that's sort of funny and entertaining, because I remember when I first started in the space, like, wait, what just happened? And so allowing myself to, I guess in a way, act out how I really feel when I realize or read a story is how I feel like a lot of the people in this space are interpreting it, which
Mm.
is why I think it makes it relatable. So going back to that storytelling, it's not your generic 6 o'clock news, like this is what happened, the fire happened at 6 p.m. This is really like, this has gone on and we're freaking out about it, and that's the reaction you want. Yeah.
I love that. You have so much experience, I guess, with reporting. One of the things that you talked about is storytelling, understanding the story, explaining it, but you're doing a really great job because you understand the target audience. You understand the community. So you know what the right topics or the right lingo or the right words to use. And I think that's so important. For a content creator myself, I feel like that's a very hard task to understand like the lingo because you might be kind of closed-minded. And also too is that you're not only talking to like one community. I think everybody here that's watching here can agree that the Web3 space is just so big and there's so many people out there. As a content creator, I know you're sharing news so much. How do you deal with like, for me personally, I get a little insecure about sharing information because somebody might not take it the right way or might misincorporate, or how do I look? Did this come off correct? For a content creator like yourself that's producing content on a very high volume, how do you deal with like internal like insecurities about what you're putting out, or how do you feel?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is just starting, is having a day one
Hmm.
and knowing that you're going to show your face and that people may hate it and people may like it.
Yeah.
I think for a really long time I used to straighten my hair until one day I got to the news set, my hair was all wet and curly, and my boss was like, "Oh my, that's the look." And so I've kept it for like over a decade now, and I've accepted the fact that I have big curly hair, and that's what it's gonna be. But in terms of insecurity, I think for myself right now, what I'm feeling right now, and I've been talking about it, is that feeling of comparison. You
Mm.
go online, it's so easy to scroll
Yeah.
online and start comparing yourself to everybody else and feeling like, oh my God, this content creator posted 5 videos today and I only posted one.
Oh yeah.
Am I doing enough? And right, it's all going in your head and you're comparing yourself. Oh my God, this is what they did. I wish I thought about doing that. It's so easy to do that. And so right now, what I'm trying to do, and it's so hard, but I want people to know that we also, if you look at my content, you're like, oh my God, how is she doing it? I also feel that.
Mm.
There are times throughout a week where I'm like, oh my God, I wish I did that, right? But it's feeling like that it's good enough. Like, you did that one video, that's what it is for you. And I think at the end of the day, what I value more is doing it consistently. For
Mm.
me, it's all about consistency. And so, I've seen a lot of people start, I've seen a lot of people start podcasts or start an Instagram page, and then it goes dead.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. He's like, I feel seen. Um, but the thing for me is, I get a lot of questions like, why crypto news once a week? And the real answer is that's what allows me to stay consistent. If I
Mm.
did it on a daily, I might have already stopped, so I do it weekly because it allows me to do it at a pace that I feel like is right for my life. And work-life balance is super important, right? If you've got kids, you've got things to attend. I mean, I still go to the gym. It's super important for me. So I've got to lock that time in, right? So it's really knowing that even your favorite content creator feels like they're not doing enough, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable online. And I think that's the most important thing, is I really want people to feel like they're in my living room, which is this right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever like get nervous when you're about to like publish and you're like, there's no turning back now, publish?
I mean, I remember the first time I did the crypto news, and my boyfriend came in, and I was like, I hope people get one of the jokes or one of the things I wrote what I do. I just hope like one person gets it.
Right?
And the response has been awesome. It's so great, and I can't stress it enough. If you are viewing this right now and you love what you're seeing, please drop it in the comments. Let us
Of
know. Like,
course.
we only know when you tell us, right? But I remember I posted that video, and I was like, I hope people get it. And then when they did, it was gratifying. But again, it's not about metrics. It's really, I think, honing in on to why you're doing it. And for me, like I tell everybody, I wish someone else was doing it. I only started doing it because I felt like I needed that piece of content to be able to go on with my week. So once you get clear on why you're doing something, and it really like hones into like what you value, then I feel like it goes beyond the comparison. It goes beyond the, oh my God, my hair doesn't look good. You just really have to stay focused as to what it is you're trying to do.
You nailed it. And you talked about strategy, and strategy is so important for a content creator. Um, let's talk about burnout. I feel like
Yeah.
burnout is such a thing in the Web3 space because a lot of people are like me, we're night owls. We like to kind of, when the family's kind of asleep, there's no mails are coming in the inbox, that's when you can really work. Talk about kind of like your work-life balance, and how does that work out with like your relationships, your gym, and then your regular job, or what you've got going on.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I think till this day, like I still have a full-time job, and I'm doing this DGen stuff full-time as well. And I get people all the time asking me, oh, so this is a part-time thing? And I'm like, no, that doesn't exist in Web3.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no part-time Web3. Once you dive in and you just do a bit of research, you realize that this overtakes your life. So in all fairness, I haven't watched any Big Brother. I don't know who's on The Bachelor. Like, I have no clue because I'm creating and not consuming, which is it's interesting when I see my girlfriends on Instagram looking at recipes, and I'm like, oh, my Instagram is so different. Right? Like,
It's so different.
interesting. It's so different. But really, burnout is something that easily happens in this space,
Yeah.
right? And again, um, even for Valentine's Day, you know what I did? I just spent the whole day sending people flowers. Like, I appreciate you so much. I'm happy you're here. I think it's important for us to really reach out to those people because we don't know what's going on behind the screen, right? Like, we just don't know. But for myself, yeah, I work out every day. I need to, but you know what I do now? I work out and listen to a Twitter space. It's like I'm hitting two birds with one
That's good.
stone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I just changed that up. What else?
How are your habits? How are your habits? Like, do you is your desk completely like clean?
It's a mess.
Like, oh, it's a mess right now. Okay, like
I cleaned it up for you. No, it's, you know what? It's messy up in here.
Sure,
And you're
yeah.
like, oh my God, this is going on. Oh my God. And then you're sending out a thread, and then it's crazy. I will say, it's a one-woman show. Like, it's all me. It's just me. Like the crypto news update, it's just me. Like, the jokes are in my head. Like, nobody else, is like part of it. So it's wild up in here. But I think what's good is that I'm very self-aware, right? Like I'm
Mm,
aware that, okay, I need to go to the gym. I'm aware that now I need to close the phone. It's 8 p.m. You do not need to be looking at what's happening. You can check in tomorrow. And I think it's giving yourself and your those boundaries is what is going to help you want to continue doing it. Because you know the interesting part about building any page on any social media platform is that it's like a baby. You got to keep feeding that
hmm.
thing.
Yeah,
So once you open it up, you have to be ready and willing to feed the beast, right? You got to feed that beast. So you have to figure out and make changes in your life so that you can do it and make it work in the background. So right now what I'm currently doing, because a lot of creatives, like I say this all the time, I'm a creator, but I'm not a business person. But what I'm trying to figure out is how can I automatically post stuff without me having to be there behind and doing
sure.
it. So figuring out calendars, planning out my life, planning out the days and the weeks, I think will in turn help me not feel that sort of pressure as well.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. I think it took me, and I'll ask you, and everybody here that's listening here today, how long did it take you to adjust to the Web3 space? It took me about 4 months for me to adjust because FOMO is like the number one thing in Web3 space. There's new projects that are coming out. There's Twitter spaces that you want to be a part of. You don't want to miss information, or
Yeah.
you're building, you might be in a groove, you might be on Twitter where you're building a community and you see the organic growth. You don't want to stop that. So for me, it took me 4 months for me to like, I think I passed out and I was like, I need to like take a break. How long did it take you for you to kind of get to say, okay, I got to stop this beast that I'm creating?
Honestly, maybe too deep in, like too deep. Um, that's like the most honest answer. I was too deep. Like
Yeah.
we ended up going to Europe. We went to Greece in September, and I just continued doing the news.
Oh man, it's tough.
And I continued doing it. But you know what? I made it a part of my life, which is we were going out to eat, and I was like, buy the dip, and I was like eating something with like a sauce.
Hmm.
And I just made it relatable.
Hmm.
Again, I think for me, what I want people to really gather when they watch the crypto news update, specifically that piece of content, is that there is news happening in crypto and blockchain and NFTs while you're eating, while you're out doing groceries, while you're sleeping. Like this space does not sleep. And I really want to showcase that. So you'll see me, like I'm always somewhere doing the news bit
I love it.
because it's just happening everywhere all the time. But in Europe it was easy because you just turn around, it's a beautiful building, and then you turn that way and it's also gorgeous. So it was beautiful and easy to do. But I wanted to be as organic and relatable, and
Mm.
I wanted to not overtake my life. I wanted to be integrated in my life. Right now I'm in Canada, it's super cold, so sometimes I'm outside, but most of the time now I'm in my living room. But you change the angles and you make it fun. You make it super fun. Yeah, exactly. You got to do all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
You do great. Like I said, I love the content. It's really eye catching. It's really attractive, and it's very unique, and it's also very relatable. So I'm super bullish on what you got going on. I think that's why I automatically was like, I got to connect with this person like
I love it.
immediately. So I got a couple more questions, and because we're gonna have to wrap this up. So one of the first questions I want to ask you is, you're producing a lot of content. What platforms do best? So for creators that are out there that are listening, that are wanting to create content around crypto or just create some buzz around the project, what are the best social media platforms that you have used that you think work best?
This is an interesting one because I'm going to keep going back to the crypto news update. It's my baby, really. Um, I post it everywhere, and it does differently everywhere,
It
in the
does.
same sense of like the communities are different, how people react to them are different. So I'll just give you an example, and then I'll talk about my favorites. So that same piece of content on Twitter, people get the little jokes. People are getting the little inside, the little tidbits, like, oh my god, okay, I got that, because they're the most active in the space, right? Then on Instagram, you get people who are like, oh, wait a second, this is happening. Oh, wait, she just mentioned Pharrell 3 times. He's really in on this stuff, right? And then they go and do their homework. They go Google the stuff, which is interesting
Hmm.
because that's how we get to onboard. And then on TikTok, everyone thinks I'm a scam. And then on LinkedIn, people see value. LinkedIn is, I think, like you can actually get a job through LinkedIn at this point in Web3 is through LinkedIn, which is great. But I will say, still till this day, Web3 or not, my favorite platform is still Instagram, because as a content creator, the number one thing you should be focusing on is building that personal brand as well. And I think Instagram allows us to do that, right? In stories, I can't tell
Absolutely.
you how many people want to see my coffee cup in the morning. They want to see that coffee mug. They want to know what I'm drinking, right? They want to see me at the gym. Like all those sort of like that behind the scenes life is beautifully illustrated on Instagram through stories. We've got reels up in there. We can still post pictures and you get to be yourself. And I find that platform allows you to be creative. Of course, Twitter, you should be on Twitter if you're in Web3. Everyone
Absolutely.
is on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like when I worked in news, I had a journalism Twitter account and my friends would make fun of me. Like, of course, you and Elon have a Twitter, right? But today, if you're in Web3, you should have a Twitter account. So open up a Twitter account, join in on spaces, be active, speak, request to speak, and be vocal. And I will say, I think YouTube. I
Mm.
think YouTube because we are able to put a long piece of content there. It lives on, and then you can chop it up and make shorter content. But right now, my biggest focus is Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I always will still post on TikTok. Like the thing is that I'm posting everywhere, but I still prefer LinkedIn. Like I like LinkedIn because again, you get to discover the founders and the builders because they all have those like
You got
those
it.
like
Yep.
yeah, they all have those like beautiful little LinkedIn profiles there. So yeah.
Yeah. So, question to you guys that are listening: what are your top 3 social media platforms that you guys use? Personally, mine is LinkedIn. I have a really strong LinkedIn account where I can show my professionalism, my outcomes, and my network of what I have. I really love YouTube because YouTube is like the second biggest search engine. So when
Yeah.
people are searching, like, how do I do this? How do I mint a project? Or how do they're utilizing YouTube for search engine. So when there's something going on in crypto, you might use Google, and you might get a rendering search from YouTube. And then the last one right now is Twitter. Now Twitter, like back in like 2017 or 2016, was way different than what it is today.
Yeah.
So for the people that are now getting back on Twitter, any advice that you would give them of like learning some of the new UX and UI and how important it is for them?
I think like everything else is figuring out what your handle is going to be first. I know some
Shit,
people
yeah.
don't really think about it, but at the very beginning, I had just put my name, and then the first thing I realized is when you hit on a Twitter space, people see the name, right? And so you want it to be short, visible, and something that people can actually like read and spell out. And that was my thought process. At the beginning, it was I think like everything else, it's got to be a really good Twitter handle. It's got to be something that people can say. Like Creative Owls, anybody could say that. It's very easy to the point, and you sort of understand. Okay, he's a creative owl, maybe night owl, night degen. Like you sort of get
Oh,
it.
cool. I like that.
But it's
It
true.
is.
The handle I think is the most important. But then just like everything else, dive in, do your homework. Twitter, the beauty about it is it's straight to the point, just a few characters, right? You can do threads now. Threads
Oh
are
yeah,
really great.
huge. Yeah.
And the Twitter space, you gotta get in on Twitter space.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a creator, if you're a business entrepreneur, I feel like if you want to maybe gain followers, but gain the right followers, hop into Twitter space, but don't talk about yourself. Give me a second, guys. Talk about what's happening in the community and provide value. Create
Yeah.
those relationships. Then more people are going to look for you to provide value. And I think that's what you're doing. And I see a lot of content creators that are in the Web3 space or part of my community that are doing. Now, let's talk about Web3 community real quick. What type of communities have you seen so far from your perspective? Like, have you seen communities that are like growing very fast, communities that are rugging, communities that are lost. What are you seeing out here in the Wild Wild West?
There's a mixture. I think a year ago to today, we've lost a lot of people.
Mm.
Um, I used to reach out to so many people and they're no longer here, right? Or I bought these NFT projects that I have no clue what they're doing, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
Um, but it's also understandable. When you think about it, how many brands on your other platforms are you following religiously? I mean, maybe two,
Mhm.
right? So it's easy to feel like I'm better off leaving. I'm just happy that the ones that are still here are serious about building. But what can I say about this community? I think this community is so diverse. It's really of people of all ages.
Mm.
We've got a lot of young people, a lot of young blood, which is great. But we've got a lot of older people who are
Yeah.
coming with their extensive years of knowledge, bringing in, their knowledge into the space, building up real brands, seeing where the technology is going and building from there. Um, in terms of communities, it's just so different. There's so many different communities. I think that's what's beautiful about it, is that you can find your place in this space because there is a place for you. And if you're like me, I had no idea where to go, so I built my own space. So if you want to build your own, there's space for that too, which is, I think, so fun and refreshing. Because if you were to think that today you're going to go build something on Instagram, it's just so hard today.
It's
But
so hard.
it's so hard. But in Web3, there's so much room for you here. And I like to say that I think a lot of us are cheering each other on. I can't tell you the amount of support I get, even if it's from 5 people. It's still 5 people in Web3, not 5 people on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the community is really so supportive. And those in real life events, oh my
Oh,
gosh, they're like my
yes, yes.
kryptonite. They're my kryptonite. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, when you're in like Twitter space, you're talking to someone in DMs for a while, and then you get to see them face to face. It creates that level of trust, and it really packs that relationship for you guys to want to work together. But also too, if like they refer you to a friend, it's a lot easier. One of the hardest things in Web3 right now is security and spam.
Mhm.
It's happening every single day across that. Would love for you to talk about on the security front real quick. Like, what are you seeing in the crypto news? Are you seeing a lot of spam, a lot of people trying to hack wallets? I know that you just talked about the Super Bowl ad the other day.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and dive into this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a video podcast now. It's called Girl in the Verse, and my goal with that is to really help people who are not here sort of understand what it is we're talking about, right? Like what it is we're going crazy about without all the technical terms,
Yeah.
without it feeling like I don't get, right? And just shutting down the whole thing. So just weeks ago, I had this security guy come on. We had Kevin Rose who clicked a phishing scam and like
Yeah.
just locked everything, right? It was like wild, like to see these big names, people we know, like, and trust,
Yes.
and losing everything, right? And so I had this guy come on and really teach us the security, everything about setting up different MetaMask wallets and why to do it this way and not
Mm.
another way. And then just at the Super Bowl, I go ahead and I click because I wanted to win one of those free dragons. And it may not have been a hack, but the thing is that it was going, once I clicked it to mint.
Hold on a second. Tell everybody what the super, like what you're talking about with the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
So at the Super Bowl, we had a big NFT project called Daigaku, who was like pushing to get a free mint. So there was a commercial with a QR code where it said "Scan me to have a digital collectible."
Okay.
And in a way, it was, I guess, not to sort of onboard the masses, but to get people into NFTs to go click from their TV screens. You click the QR code, right? You get asked on the Daigaku like mint.
Mhm.
You click it, and then what was happening on my end was it was automatically accepting things on my MetaMask wallet.
Whoa.
And so I just shut everything out. Like, I just got so scared. And then other people, hearing from other people, it was going straight to like the founder's like Twitter page and
Yep.
just saying, follow me.
Yeah.
So we were all sort of getting redirected to different things. And again, like FOMO is so real in this space. You're like, I just want to win this free thing, you know? But I canceled everything. And then again, the next day, what did I do? I went on and I did a video about it. I said, hey, I almost fell victim.
Mm.
Because again, I want people to know, like, I'm doing my homework. I'm telling you don't click links, and then I go and click them, you know? And it's just so important. And it's again so easy. Like, I guess because I was a victim and I saw how easy it can get to just click a link and lose everything, which thankfully I didn't, but it was too easy. And I think because it's so easy, I cannot stress the importance of talking about this in a way that is digestible for people to understand
Mm.
what it is they're clicking, why it is they're clicking it, and what the repercussions are. You know, like I remember the first time when I bought an NFT, I minted an NFT. I remember thinking to myself, okay, but what if I don't want it? Who do I call? Is there a 1-800 number? And like my partner was like, no, that's the beauty of this. I mean, it's beautiful, but also there are those consequences, right, of not having a 1-800 number to call.
Yeah, and the fact that you are sharing that story is so powerful because it's so relatable. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody here that's watching that watched the Super Bowl pulled up their phone just like I did and was like, I got to scan this because I knew what it was. I was ready for it, right? And some people who get hacked never talk about it,
Yeah.
and they
They
just
leave. They leave the space,
they
which
leave,
is also
yeah, they
scary.
leave quietly. But you have people that are informative and say, hey guys, I fucked up, right?
Yeah.
You know, and this is my journey, and let me tell you about it. And I feel like that is what makes you so amazing because you are so relatable. And if you make a boo boo, you're like, hey guys, I made a boo boo, and you're transparent about it. Being a content creator, being transparent is how you build a relationship with your target audience. That's how people are engaged. You talked about your behind the scenes story. People are invested in you. They want to see the coffee cup in the morning. They want to have that schedule. And for you, it's now long, it's not really a job. It's now part of like who you are, right?
Yeah.
You can be eating at let's say Chipotle, and you be like, all right, let me pull my camera out, right? And you can be eating and people will be like, wow, she's not on set. She's actually somewhere where I was actually there yesterday. So creating relatable content, being on it, talking about topics like security, which is really, really sensitive in this space, I think is a really amazing. Now, I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about the outcomes that you have created for others. You have been giving a lot of information. I also know that I read is that you've actually helped about 10 women create an online brand. I would love for you to tell me how that came into place, and then what were the outcomes related to those.
Yeah, that was just before entering Web3. But
Okay.
so what I did there, I think, you know, once I left television, again, I think for a lot of people, it was, you know, easy for me to do that, you know? It was easy for me to just get on 6 o'clock news and do news. But the reality is that there's a lot more than just showing up and looking pretty, right? And so I think for a lot of women during the pandemic, there
Mm.
was this moment in time where they realized they were stuck at home, but they had, you know, they had amazing brownies that they could sell online, or that they had an amazing book that they can, you know, ebook it and sell it through Instagram. And so what I did was give these women the confidence
Mm.
to get in front of a camera and share their story. I cannot stress the importance of, you know, like when people tell me like, well, why would I buy these cookies and not, you know, Mary Beth's cookies? Well, the reason why you're buying Mary Beth's cookies is because she's going online and she's telling you, I make these cookies for gluten-free kids with no peanut, no, you know, so you can bring these and put them in the lunch boxes at school, and it's coming from a good place. And her story would be, you know, my son went to school, ate a cookie, had an allergic reaction, had to get the EpiPen, right? And like that story is way more relatable than going and buy some cookie at the grocery store, right? You're going to be more inclined to want to buy that cookie because there's a story and there's a reason why she's doing it, right? There was this moment. And so she felt like, okay, well, how can I help other moms? And so that whole process of storytelling, and really, again, I think figuring out who do you think needs this.
Mm.
And so again, in terms of crypto news, well, there's a lot of spaces, right? We talk about all the time. There's a lot of spaces that go on for hours and hours a day. But who's going to give us the summary of it? Who's going
Yeah.
to tell us in 60 seconds what went down this week? And so I remember at the time, it was, for me, it was, well, nobody's doing it, so I guess I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
right? And so I did it. And so I think it's figuring out if there's a need. You know, you don't have to sell all the time, but figuring out that there's a need. And I think in this case, especially in crypto today, I think it is important to show your face. I think it's super important. And I think it's probably the main reason why Frank Dgods from D Labs decided one day to show up and say, this is who I am. I'm not going to hide behind a mask. I'm going to show up and tell people who I am because I'm serious and I'm committed to this, right? And I applaud that. I applaud Gordon and Garga, who went on. I remember a year ago, they went on a podcast and said, yeah, okay, we're ready to show up and you know, not hide behind our ape. And I think when we start seeing more people show up as themselves, we're not going to feel like this is just some scam.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you talked about that. And I really, really love your train of thought around the storytelling, because storytelling has been around for since the very beginning, right? And that's how you capture the story. That's how you grab people into what's happening and create relationships. Those are all great things. Now, let's say that we have a brand new content creator that's coming into the space. What would be some advices that you would kind of give to them around like strategy? You know, we talked about mental health,
Yeah.
content create. Like, what would be like your top 3 tips that you would give someone that's joining this Web3 space?
Number one is be you. Like, don't copy anybody, because that gets exhausting. You know, when it's not you, when you see someone, you're like, okay, I'll do it like my version. Just do what you want. You know what I mean? Like, be you, because being somebody else is exhausting, and it's going to lead you to feeling burnt out, to feeling like you're not good enough, to feeling like it's not enough, right? So I would say stick to what you know and what you can bring. So figure that out. 2, I would say understand that, again, this beast, once you open it up, it's forever. So make sure that it's something that you can do consistently. And I think 3, I always say this, right? Talk about what you know. Talk about something that you can do for 20 minutes without looking at notes. What is that? Is it NFTs? Is it blockchain? Is it you as an engineer? Is it you as an artist? What is that? What does that look like? What is something you can talk about for 20 minutes without looking at notes? Yeah, let's start there.
Wow, guys, you guys heard it here first. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, guys. Make sure you guys give her a follow in the comments below. I'm going to put her newsletter, where you have her YouTube, we have her LinkTree, her Twitter account for you guys to stay up to date. Thank you so much, GIRLintheVERSE, for hanging out with me today. And for everybody, make sure you guys follow her. If you guys have any questions, put it in the comment box. If you guys want to ask some more questions around the content creator side of things, what her strategy is, and how she's growing to the next level. And I'm looking forward to interviewing you in a couple of months again, and see kind of like where we're at with the Web3 space and where you're at with, you know, with your journey. But thank you so much. But before we leave, anything that you want to say to everybody here that's watching?
I can't stress it enough. You just have to start. It's not going to be the way you want it to be. Like, I remember my first videos, I'd look at myself and be like, why am I wearing that? Why am I talking this way? You know, it's just going to suck.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is you have to embrace that it's going to suck. You have to embrace that you're not going to like the way you sound, that your hair won't look good. Like, you have to embrace all of that. What the beauty of it is, when you start, you see the mistakes, you correct them, you move on, and you get better. And it's the only way to get better is to start. And I will encourage anybody right now, your favorite podcaster, your favorite YouTuber, go look at Joe Rogan's first videos. They suck, but he gets better, right? Like, so I just want you to just start.